Welcome. My name is Steve Stein, and I'm the host of the Street Smart Wisdom podcast. Our guest today is Dr. Trevor Cates. She's the author of the USA Today and Amazon best-selling book, Clean Skin from Within, and founder of the Spa Doctor Natural Skin Care line. She received her medical degree from the National University of Natural Medicine and was the first woman licensed as a naturopathic doctor in the state of California. She currently lives in Park City, Utah, where she helps patients from around the world achieve naturally glowing skin. She has been featured on various TV shows, including The Doctors and Extra TV. Dr. Cates has interviewed over 250 experts on the Spa Doctor podcast and hosted her own PBS special, Younger Skin from Within. She believes the key to healthy skin is inner and outer nourishment with natural and non-toxic ingredients. Excellent. Welcome, Dr. Cates.
Thank you. It's great to be here with you.
Yeah, it's a pleasure. So we had the pleasure of having you on our summit last year. So we're glad to have you on our podcast. And so that's a great bio. But let's jump right in. So who are you in terms of, I read your bio, but you have a family. I know I saw before you have cats and dogs, but catch us up a little on who you are and we can get the ball rolling like that.
I know I had to clear all the animals out of the room because they were like, oh, what's happening over here? And they wanted to come join the conversation. But they could be a little distracting. I live in Park City, beautiful Park City. And I have a dog and two cats. I have three kids and I certainly love it here. Love the outdoors, connecting with nature on a regular basis and enjoying the sunshine and all of that, which we can talk about sun and skin because people oftentimes ask me about that. But before we go into some of these, I know some of the topics that we talk about today, I can tell you a little bit about why I'm so passionate about skin. And that is because when I was a kid, I had a lot of health issues, a lot of allergies that showed up on my skin. So hives, eczema, mysterious bumps, itchy rashes, reacting to every kind of skincare product, personal care product. And my parents took me to see a lot of different types of doctors and they put me on different medications. I had adverse reactions or allergic reactions to everything that they gave me to put on or to take. And I just kept feeling worse with all of the different options we were provided. So thankfully they didn't give up looking for something. They kept searching for answers for me. And that eventually they found a holistic practitioner they took me to. And it was the one thing, I was around 11 years old, and it was the one thing I remember that really turned things around for me. And my skin cleared up, my allergies subsided. I didn't have I had these reoccurring infections like strep throat and things like that. It's all cleared up. And, I think the thing is with skin problems, one of the biggest things is, of course, it's the physical symptoms, but also if you have skin problems on your face, it can be very embarrassing, especially I think as a child, really at any age though. And I remember being so relieved on many different levels that I didn't struggle with this anymore. But I also remember thinking, why did I have to go through all of this before being presented a holistic option? Why wasn't this something that was presented to my family right in the beginning? Like, oh, you could do this and more of an integrated path, but nobody mentioned it. It was something we had to kind of dig and find. And so that's what fueled a passion in me at an early age because of my own personal experience. So that's what led me eventually find naturopathic medical school, go there. I graduated 21 years ago, and but it was really about 10 years ago that I started to focus more on skin because my patients were coming in and they would say, Dr. Cates, I'm feeling great with all the things that you're doing and the 2-week program you put me on. What surprises me is my skin. I didn't know my skin could look this good with this approach from the inside out. And so to me, I realized the importance of getting this message out to people that your skin is actually an outer reflection of your overall health. And when our skin, we're having problems with our skin, is oftentimes a warning sign that something's out of balance internally. And then that shows up on the skin. Or, we could also use our skin to see what, with our lifestyle choices, we might be doing things that are either good for our skin or bad for our skin. And so that's what led me to write my book, Clean Skin from Within, because what I ended up doing is taking the 2-week program I really had been doing was more of a weight loss program, but then incorporating more of the skin, the topical aspect in it as well. Because when you address the root causes behind skin issues, that's when really the magic can occur of not only clearing up skin problems, but also helping air health in other ways. And so I found that there was these patterns I was seeing in my patients, and that there are 6 root causes behind skin issues. And we could talk about some of those today, but when I name some of them, you're going to say, oh, well, that's not just related to skin. That's related to a lot of things like inflammation, gut microbiome problems, hormonal imbalances, nutritional deficiencies. Because these are things that oftentimes chronic skin issues, they show up as one of the first signs of imbalances with these. And when we address those, we can clear up skin issues, but so many other health problems too, whether it's preventing them or even addressing them. So that's kind of what got me on this path. And then of course I created the Spa Doctor skincare line too, to help people, making sure that they've got really natural skincare products to go along with all the great work they're doing from the inside.
Quick question. When you were 11 years old, you kind of got onto this path. What did the doctor do? Did they start giving you a supplement or just like stop eating XYZ or a little of this, little of that? And what
Yes,
was it?
a holistic practitioner.
Yeah.
Yeah, so with this holistic practitioner, part of it, a big part of it was homeopathy, but also, there was a nutrition aspect to it, and just kind of an overall, just more holistic approach. And she actually spent a lot more time with me in the appointment, getting to understand what was going on with my health. And a lot of times, I mean, I was so surprised. What I was used to is the conventional medical model, where I would go in and they'd spend maybe 10 minutes with me. And I was like, how do they even know what to do with me? They barely have even talked to me. But then she spent an hour and a half talking to me. And I remember thinking, well, I can't believe she's spending this much time with me. But I felt like she really understood what was going on with my health, because she took the time to ask a lot of questions. And that is certainly something, as a naturopathic physician, that, as naturopathic physicians, we do that. We're very comprehensive in looking at all the different aspects, because it's like solving a mystery, and trying to figure out which of the root causes are triggering this. Because if you use that approach, and you're getting to the root cause instead of just suppressing, then you're going to have not only more immediate, in a way, results, but also long term benefits. But oftentimes with skin problems, like what was happening with me is I was given a topical steroid, just put this on, or I was given an antihistamine. But then the side effects of the antihistamines, just like I either was totally wired and I couldn't sleep at night, and I felt jittery and I couldn't focus at school, or I was so tired that, again, I couldn't focus in school. And so it was like, why do I have to struggle through all these side effects? Or they would put me on antibiotics, which I started having actually allergic reactions to. And but it wasn't getting to the root of the inflammation that was going on in my body. The fact that there was mold in my home, that I was drinking so much milk. You'd think I was like, a calf. I was, and like these things were creating so much inflammation, and then also creating gut microbiome issues, that nobody was talking to me about those things.
Wow. So, kind of like the ethos for Wisdom Feed and Better Listen and our podcast is taking ancient ideas and bringing them down to street level. And I think hand in glove with that is, holistic health. And it's no more, it's really kind of unique because, in general, like you said, you go to a doctor, they're going to treat the effect or they're going to treat the symptom. They're not going to go look beneath to do a holistic approach to it. And with the skin, that's all you get to see. So, it's talk about how that model is so different, a holistic approach rather than just putting an ointment on it or something like that.
Yeah, and you know what? I don't want to say that I'm like um, against medications or conventional medicine or anything. I think it all has its place, but I think oftentimes we're too quick to jump to, topical steroids or an antibiotic, or when we could actually take a closer look at, what is going on holistically with the body and what are the underlying causes. Because certainly there are times, I believe, for medications when necessary, but if we overuse them, it creates problems. Like we know with the overuse of antibiotics that it's created, super bugs and even more challenging infections and like hospitals and so we want to be mindful of that and to reserve things like antibiotics for when it truly is necessary, and there are time and place for that. And that's same thing with surgery. Like there's sometimes surgery can save people's lives, so it's not that I'm opposed to it. I just think we want to look at the starting with the least invasive medicine possible, and that's what we talk about in naturopathic medicine. What can we do first? Like what lifestyle changes can we do? Diet, sleep, stress management, exercise, those sorts of things that are so important for the foundation of our health. And then if that's not enough alone, then we look to supplements, what nutrients, what herbs can be helpful and helping support the body, kind of give it a little boost, because we do get out of balance at times. And sometimes lifestyle is not enough alone, like just eating healthy foods sometimes isn't enough because our body's gotten in a state of gotten out of balance. And so using things like that, or homeopathic remedies to kind of help support the body's innate wisdom and ability to heal. And and then we can move into a little bit more minimally invasive things, or use medications if if those things are done and it's just not enough. And the way that I use medications with my patients is usually it's enough to like, if sometimes I have had to have patients do topical steroids because their skin is so inflamed that they're absolutely miserable. And so just to use it enough to get that inflammation to calm down, and then at the same time supporting the root causes from the inside out, and then using some natural topicals to kind of help calm the skin, get the skin microbiome back in a better balance. But most of the time we don't even need to. What I find is I don't even need to use these conventional medications. But again, I think what's common in dermatology is that it's like that's the first thing is, like, just use this topical steroid and that's it. And people aren't talked to about inflammatory foods, about their gut health. But now the research is really supporting this connection, the gut skin connection, and we truly understand what naturopathic doctors have been talking about for many, many, many years, about this connection with the gut and our overall health and our skin. But now the research is supporting it and showing it, which is always nice when you have both, when you have, that the history of natural medicine, and then research then comes along and supports it. It's beautiful when that happens.
Yeah, so we're,
Doesn't always, but yeah.
I always think of, how can I explain this to the people, like the kids or the guys, the people in my neighborhood that I grew up with in Brooklyn, who are least natural oriented, or most of them. But as you get older, you have a healing crisis, you'll try something. So I don't know the specific research, but when you said that the doctor, when you were younger, spent all this time with you, I think that spending time, like a focused time with someone, that lowers inflammation. People paying attention, people, there's a healing process that goes on with that. And there's, we do work with different authors in the mindfulness space. So John Kabat-Zinn, he was a researcher at MIT. So he did a meditation for psoriasis as a test. He did like a double blind, I think it was statistically valid research. And some people lowered their stress, and I think they visualized their scalp and basic meditation relaxation. And scientifically, it's woo-woo, but when you take the woo-woo to science, I think it makes it all kind of really down to street level, I call it, like people can get it. But yeah, so that's one of the things we sell is his psoriasis meditation audio, because it helps. I mean, just lowering stress. And that's not a topical thing, that's an internal, it's not even internal, it goes through your ears, I mean, technically.
Yeah, and I think it's not necessarily the like a doctor's fault that they don't spend time. It's unfortunately the way that our medical model is with health insurance. That's what the limitations are, is health insurance. If a doctor is taking insurance, they have to fit um within that mold, see a certain number of patients and limit the amount of time they spend with each patient, which is really unfortunate that that's the way our medical model is. So when somebody can actually, when a doctor can actually sit and listen to their patient and have time, there's definitely healing in that. I absolutely agree. And I actually also have a master's degree in spiritual psychology in
Wow.
addition to being a naturopathic physician.
Where'd you get that?
At the University of Santa Monica, I don't think they actually offer the master's program anymore, but I think I was probably the last year they offered it. But um, it's uh, it's really amazing the power of the mind, and we know the how that stress actually triggers inflammation, can trigger skin problems. For example, when we're stressed, our adrenals release more cortisol, and with more cortisol that can trigger inflammation. And of course, skin problems are stressful already, so it's like this vicious cycle that people get into. So absolutely. Mindfulness, stress management, meditation, all of that is so crucial. In fact, in my book, Clean Skin from Within, I have 4 different aspects of the book that I go through. And the fourth one is clean mind, which is mindfulness and stress management practices, because it is so, so crucial. You can eat the healthiest diet, you could take supplements, but if you're not managing your stress, if you're not looking at ways to help with that, you're missing out on a really important part of that. I mean, and so just the 4 parts are clean plate, clean slate, clean body, and clean mind. I'm happy to go through the others, but I'm really glad you brought that up. And I do think that there's a lot that can be healed through mindfulness and stress management.
Wow, wow. And kind of a left turn, but one of my kids, and it was, is we went to different doctors. He ended up taking accutane, and and don't really know what the side effects were, but it really, really worked. And we tried a lot of different things, and we were hesitant to do it. But there's an example of a tradition of a medicine that I think they got the science down over the years, but it really helped. And perhaps if when he was 11 or 12 years old, we got him eating kale smoothies every day, that might have done it, but that wasn't about to happen. So, but it really, but it was phenomenal how it actually helped. And when that helped, as you say, it's self-esteem and all that. And, um,
Yeah, there definitely are a lot of side effects with Accutane and concerns about that. It certainly can help some people. The concern is it was actually pulled off the market
I
for,
remember, yeah.
yeah, because of the very serious side effects, including birth defects, and for of children, women who took it, they would have babies with birth defects. So now, when it was brought back on the market, their doctors very carefully screen women to make sure that they're not planning to get pregnant, that they wouldn't get pregnant while taking Accutane. But there's also some psychological stuff that can happen. It can be triggered as a result of taking Accutane too. So doctors also need to screen people for things like depression and anxiety, because it can actually worsen those types of things. So it's really kind of tricky, because I've actually heard quite a few people who, and I usually see the people that where conventional medicine hasn't worked for them. So then they come see me because they've tried something and it doesn't work. So then they come see me for like another option. And so I've heard a lot of stories of people with the Accutane and making them feel worse, mentally, emotionally. And then so they go off of it, and then their skin just like rebounds the effect as soon as they stop taking it. So, I think that again, if people are, carefully screen for medications when
You,
used
you,
appropriately. I'm not a big fan of Accutane. Typically, I can help people. I've never had anybody that I couldn't help either get off Accutane or, kind of help them, and so they don't need to take it. But I understand that is one that doctors, dermatologists will recommend a
and
lot.
and he was very closely screened and did the blood tests and thankfully didn't have any side effects.
Yeah.
And hopefully in the future there won't be side effects, but it you know it's, I think it's finding the right mix. So you see people when it doesn't go well, and yes, but it's, I think more information is good, but the whole mind body connection, I think, is uh is key. So something you touched about in our last conversation, but that there's a skin microbiome.
Mhm.
It still doesn't make sense to me that that's real, but so what is it?
Yeah, so there are lots of microorganisms that live in and on around our bodies. And we have different microbiotas at different places. And the skin has its own microbiota, that these microorganisms, bacteria, fungi, yeast, all kinds of things that live on, and actually in balance, they can actually help protect the skin. But it also can be, one of those things where it gets out of balance and lead to chronic skin problems. So if you think about our skin, the biggest function, or one of the biggest functions it has, is to provide a barrier function to the outside world. So our skin has this barrier function, and part of that barrier function is these microorganisms. So they work as a layer of protection. And but once that barrier function of the skin isn't working as well, then we can develop something called leaky skin, which means that the skin is just not as resilient. It's not working the way that it was designed. So more likely to develop eruptions, breakouts, things like that. And also, when people put things on their skin, they might be more reactive to them. This is what was happening to me as a child. And then also, you could actually absorb some of the toxic ingredients through the skin more readily, because the skin isn't functioning to create that barrier as well. So a lot of people today in the natural medicine world talk about the gut microbiome. And so a lot of people have already heard about, the importance of the gut microbiome. And the gut microbiome has its own very, different, but also has microorganisms that live in the gut that help protect our gut health. And we know that when that gets out of balance, it can create problems throughout the body. And there's the gut brain skin axis. So what happens with our gut can affect our brain health, and it can also help impact our skin. And it goes both, like if there's an imbalance, it can create imbalances in the other places. If it's in a great state of harmony and balance, then that can really help our brain health, our, mental, emotional health, as well as our skin. So a lot of the skin microbiome and the healthy skin microbiome, a lot of that has to do with the gut. So we want to do a lot of that, but also what we put on the skin can also impact the skin microbiome. So it's really important. This is where the magic is with healing skin issues, is when you have both that internal and external component to addressing the skin.
It's almost like a team. Like, you can't win with just offense. You can't win with just defense. You really need to get all the aspects, mind, body, spirit, kind of working in the same direction, something like that.
Yeah. Mhm.
And so tell us a little bit. I want to hear a little bit more about your book there, and then I think that'd be good to get a. You said there are 4 stages, 6 stages. You could do the 4 main ones. I think you went through them, but I think
Yeah.
that's just a good kind of not a protocol, but to understand your work, how you lay it out would be great.
Absolutely. Yeah. So my book, Clean Skin from Within, I lead people through a 2-week program. And it is to help kind of push the reset button, get your skin back on track. And really it's great for overall health and overall. So there's clean plate, clean slate, clean body, and clean mind. And I go through these different sections, and in the 2 weeks, people will do things for each one of these categories. And then I also provide ways to help people customize their 2-week program and these 4 different aspects by knowing what their skin personality type is. So for people, if they want to find that out, it really helps you figure out the root causes behind that, which helps you kind of individualize it. People can go to theskinquiz.com to take that skin personality type quiz, find out if you're an Amber, Olivia, Sage, Emmett, or Heath skin type. And then you can find it, that'll help you find out your root causes, which of the 6 root causes you have. And then that helps you with the 2-week program. Again, it's theskinquiz.com. And so even if you just take the quiz, you don't have my book, you'll get tips on it, but it's great companion for the book as well. So with the 4 different components, clean plate is about the foods that we eat. So we can use food as medicine. We can help address root causes like inflammation or nutritional deficiencies. A lot of the root causes, we can help address that by the foods that we eat. So avoiding big trigger foods and instead eating like anti-inflammatory foods, foods that help fill in nutritional deficiencies and that we know that help support the skin. Like, for example, there are certain nutrients like vitamin C or zinc, B vitamins that are so important for the skin, essential fatty acids. These can be deficient, and that can show up as skin problems like dry skin or keratosis pilars, these little bumps that will appear on the backs of the arms. And those are oftentimes like zinc or essential fatty acid deficiency. So, getting in those nutrients through your food is really important in the clean plate section. And then the clean slate section is the next section. And that's about what the products that we put on our skin. And there are so many toxic ingredients in personal care products these days. So I talk about what are the, excuse me, the most important ingredients to avoid, and then healthier alternatives to help support the skin microbiome on the outside. And then the third section is clean body, and that is about reducing toxins in our environment and other places. So besides just personal care products, but also in our food, water, and homes, and also supporting our body's detoxification pathways so that if and when we get exposed to toxins in our environment, that our body's doing a good job of processing it. And our skin is one of these important organs of detoxification. A lot of times people think of the liver and the kidneys maybe, but the skin, we perspire through our skin. So it's really important for us to focus on that one too. And then the fourth section, as I mentioned before, is clean mind. And that is about mindfulness and stress management practices.
Wow, wow. I have a personal question. Sam was going to come out with it. So uh, my son is having uh, not a big issue, but when he perspires, he feels like he perspires too much almost. So that was, as the winter's over. So we had him just drink more water, because my understanding it's releasing toxins is part of the sweat. And I think that probably did it. But what could cause something like that?
Well, if he's, I mean, I think, perspiring is really healthy. It's a good thing. When people say that they don't sweat, that's when I'm like, okay, let's figure out how we can get you sweating. Because that's, I used to be like that too. I would just turn like red and I wouldn't really sweat. But now, it's, I still tend to get pink when I, like when I exercise and stuff. Um, but I think, perspiring heavily, it's like it's one of these things where it's not well accepted in our society. Like sweating is not something that we want to see people do, but it actually is a really healthy thing. So, and when our body goes through different changes, um, and it might be partly hormonal changes that he's going through. Like you said, it could be that he was exposed to some toxins. His body's just really trying to flush it out. So I wouldn't do anything to try and slow it down. I would say there are some things that we oftentimes do that actually can interfere with perspiration. Some of the products that we're putting on our skin, deodorants, in fact, the antiperspirants that people use that have been shown to actually, and there's some research that shows that using antiperspirants actually will increase the number of malodorous bacteria. So here you are trying to keep, using deodorants and antiperspirants to help decrease the smell and the perspiration, but you're actually creating more of these bacteria that create bad smell.
Ding, 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 ding. So that's different. The antiperspirant is different than just
A
what's
deodorant. Yeah.
just a deodorant.
Yeah.
So that's
Yeah.
something to look at. Wow.
Yeah. So sticking more with the deodorants rather than the antiperspirants. And I know, again, it's like this thing in our society, like, we're not, you don't want to sweat. Like, but wait, that's your body's trying to
Totally, totally.
detoxify. And then when it creates these imbalance in the microbiome, it's just your body trying to say, like, I don't even know what to do with this. And you're creating these imbalances that make the problem worse.
Wow, wow. So that's I'm glad I asked. Now I'm going to look in the because my kids are like, oh, you're the health food dad, and we only, I like to shop at Whole Foods because there's no high fructose corn syrup in the whole store and like that. But I'm going to go look right now because I know that's a good clue. All right, so sometimes we ask this question, so I'm going to try this question. We'll look to wrap up. Um, if you were a superhero, what would your origin story be? Was there like something, you mentioned it a little bit, but was there some moment that put you on this path, or the light bulb went off that this is what I'm supposed to do, or something like that?
So if I was a superhero, what would I'm sorry,
What would
sorry.
your, origin story, like, Spider-Man was exposed to something and all of a sudden he was like, had a superpower kind of thing. He had a mission. Was there
Yeah.
any like catalytic something that put you on that path?
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, I shared my story, and I think it's so interesting when we're in the moment. Like when I was a kid and I was just struggling, I had no idea that this was going to lead me on this path
Wow.
and have this journey to help other people. So sometimes when we're in it, we don't even realize what's happening to us. But I do think that it was it was such an amazing experience for me to be able to have those health issues myself, so that when I go to help other people, I can say, I get it, I understand, I remember how embarrassing my skin was. I think I just totally withdrew, and I was such a shy kid. I think it really impacted my self-esteem, and I still think that, things that we experience as a child, they can continue to be, things that we can work on. But if we really do see them as like a blessing, kind of like what you're saying, like a superpower, then it's amazing where it can take us. And so I feel like on different levels, like from a natural medicine perspective of understanding how the body works, and experiencing myself, but then getting the knowledge, and then creating that as a way to help people has been fantastic. I also feel like there's that confidence piece and that inner work that we need to do too, and that's another part of has been my own personal journey, and then helping other people with that too.
Wow. Yeah. So at some point, maybe the next podcast, I'll ask you what spiritual psychology is. But this, what's that?
Yeah, next time.
For sure, for sure. No, this was great. I think there's a lot of good takeaways. So how can people find you? The spadoctor.com, and where's that quiz? That quiz sounds really interesting.
Yeah, theskinquiz.com, theskinquiz.com. And then the spa doctor, doctor is abbreviated DR. So it's THESPADR.com. You can also find us on social media, Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, all those great places. You can find the spa doctor there.
Okay, great. Any final or other thoughts or come to mind?
I just want to encourage people to just start wherever you are, start making some baby steps. It's like, even if you do something small each day, it's the daily choices that add up. So finding a breath work exercise that you can do every day, just starting your day with a healthy smoothie or getting in a salad, and then start taking a look at your skincare products, and maybe start making some replacements. Just little things that you can do that can add up. And the more you do of them over time, next thing you know, you have this beautiful, clean lifestyle.
Amen. I like that. All right. Thank you so much, Dr. Trevor Cates. It's a pleasure having you on our podcast. My name is Steve Stein. I'm the host of the Street Smart Wisdom podcast, and thanks so much for joining us today.